This girl is a game designer named Qiu Fei Fei. Although she's only 28 years old, in her mother's eyes, Fei Fei is like a ticking time bomb. Her mother gave her an ultimatum: bring a boyfriend home for the Lunar New Year, or don't consider her as a mother anymore. To maintain peace, Fei Fei decided to spend a large sum of money to ask her friend Min Min to help hire a boyfriend. The guy they found is a drama student named Ji Xuan, who just so happens to have a side gig as a stand-in boyfriend for girls in urgent need of one. When they met Ji Xuan, Min Min mentioned that he was the most popular guy at the art academy. Despite the high rental fee of 1,000 yuan per day, Fei Fei still chose Ji Xuan. Before signing the contract, Ji Xuan said only one condition: Fei Fei must not fall for him. When they returned home for the Lunar New Year, Fei Fei's mother, Mrs. Fong, was being mocked by the neighbors because her daughter didn't have a boyfriend. Fei Fei quickly introduced Ji Xuan to her mother, saving face in front of the neighbors. At dinner, Ji Xuan, following Mrs. Fong's request, called her mom. Fei Fei's father asked, "Aren't you worried your parents will feel sad that you're spending the holiday at your girlfriend's house?" Ji Xuan revealed, "I've been an orphan since I was young, so after a few drinks, Fei Fei's mother helped her father to bed." Fei Fei brought Ji Xuan to the guest room, but since it was a mess, she ended up offering him her own room. Little did she know, her mother had a surprise in store. They had already taken away all the bedding to prevent Ji Xuan from sleeping on the floor. Realizing that her mother wouldn't easily give up, Ji Xuan suggested that Fei Fei follow her mother's wishes. The result, Fei Fei ended up cuddling with Ji Xuan until morning. When she woke up, Fei Fei panicked and rushed out of bed. Ji Xuan assured her that nothing had happened between them and reminded her to pay him for the previous day's service. When Fei Fei paid him promptly, Ji Xuan told her to trust in his acting skills. If she wanted, he was even willing to play her boyfriend next year and the year after. Fei Fei believed her mother wouldn't push her to marry for the next 3 years. She planned to stage a passionate romance next year, break up the following year due to incompatibility, and then take another year to heal her broken heart. That's why she was willing to invest 3,000 yuan to secure 3 years of peace. However, something unexpected happened. Fei Fei's mother insisted that her future son-in-law stay a bit longer. Fei Fei worried her mother would discover something wasn't right. Ji Xuan, thinking everything could be solved with money, suggested that his boss extend the contract. Fei Fei negotiated the rental price down to half for a month, with the condition of limiting physical contact. Ji Xuan pointed out that physical contact was an extra service, charged per centimeter. Having worked hard for years, Fei Fei could afford it, so she decided to sign a 1-month contract with Ji Xuan. To this day, Ji Xuan maintained the one condition that Fei Fei must not fall for him. At dinner, Mrs. Fong piled food onto her son-in-law's plate. For the sake of his fee, Ji Xuan had to eat it all to please his future mother-in-law. Worried about his waistline increasing by a few sizes, Ji Xuan immediately began working out to keep his figure. With no one to help him, he asked Fei Fei to take his body measurements. Embarrassed, Fei Fei pushed Ji Xuan away, accusing him of exploiting the job to take advantage of her. Ji Xuan advised his boss to think more innocently. Stunned, Ji Xuan realized all his measurements had increased. He lamented losing his once sharp jawline. Ji Xuan complained that consuming more than 1,000 calories at each of Mrs. Fong's meals was a work hazard. Hearing him grumble, Fei Fei reluctantly agreed to compensate him more. While out for a walk, Fei Fei ran into an old friend named Bsi Gen, who mocked her for having a fear of men and still being single. Ji Xuan showed up just in time, introducing himself as Fei Fei's boyfriend. He reminded Fei Fei to avoid people who didn't wear masks in public. His chivalrous act left an unexpected impression on Fei Fei, who became excited and began sketching his likeness as the main character in her new game. Min Min noticed that Fei Fei's drawing was a likeness of Ji Xuan. She warned her friend not to confuse her rented boyfriend with reality. Fei Fei defended herself, saying she only drew inspiration from Ji Xuan's masked image. Min Min cautioned her not to fall for someone like Ji Xuan. Fei Fei admitted her heart raced whenever she saw Ji Xuan, and she even wanted to spend more money on him. The long-awaited dream of kissing a handsome man finally came true for the 28-year-old single girl. Noticing Fei Fei's furtive glances, Ji Xuan suspected she had developed feelings for him. He reminded her not to fall for him. Fei Fei quickly denied it, but still stole glances at him. He questioned, "Why is Fei Fei staring at me?" She explained that she was just working. Ji Xuan demanded to see her tablet. Just then, Mrs. Fong brought some fruit for the two of them, prompting Fei Fei to quickly display affection for Ji Xuan. Once her mother left, Ji Xuan started calculating the cost with his boss. He informed her that she had touched his hand, which measured approximately 23 centimeters, equating to 23,000 yuan. Fei Fei was confused, asking, "Weren't you gentle when you saved me? Why are you suddenly acting like a different person?" He reminded her that his tenderness was just part of his act. His true self only cared about profit. Ji Xuan secretly hoped these words would make Fei Fei lose interest in him. Back in her room, Fei Fei lamented to Min Min, believing that showing affection was a boyfriend's duty, but Ji Xuan was tricking her by charging for physical contact. Fei Fei called Ji Xuan to settle accounts. He took a day off to work as a stunt double on a film set. Fei Fei visited the set and was mesmerized by how stunning Ji Xuan looked in his historical costume. Seeing him repeatedly wading into the water and being disrespected by the film crew, Fei Fei rushed to check on him. She decided to forego the physical contact fees and promised to binge-watch the movie when it premiered. Ji Xuan told her he was only the stunt double, so she wouldn't see him on screen. Fei Fei encouraged him to be more confident because he was 1,000 times more handsome than the lead actor. Back home, Fei Fei was brimming with inspiration to design characters for her new mythology game. She called Min Min to complain about how she couldn't resist Kei Hyan's charm, even though she wanted to demand a refund for the physical contact fees. Min Min suggested negotiating with Kei Hyan, saying that if there was no skin-to-skin contact, there should be no additional fees. The dream of a young woman kissing a handsome man once again visited the 28-year-old single girl. To deal with his boss's new conditions, Kei Hyan wore a mesh shirt to increase physical contact. Fafa immediately covered herself completely, leaving only her eyes exposed. During the meal, she claimed she had an allergy and had to avoid contact with the air. Fafi's parents were worried and urged her to go to the hospital for a checkup. Kei Hyan quickly explained that Fafa was forcing herself to sweat to lose weight. He asked her mother not to blame a girl who just wanted to look good. Fafa thanked Kei Hyan for rescuing her, but he immediately demanded she pay a crisis management fee. However, Fafa wasn't so easily fooled anymore. At dinner, Fafi's mother told her to take off her gloves to eat. Kei Hyan, ever the schemer, asked Fafa to pass him the vinegar bottle. Sensing a trap, she became more cautious. As she tried to leave, Kei Hyan tripped her, making her fall into his arms. As a result, he charged her 90,000 yuan for that incident. He even welcomed Fafa to jump into his arms again next time. Seeing her daughter distracted by playing games, Mrs. Fong reminded Fafa to go see her boyfriend. Fafa bragged that she and Kei Hyan were currently fighting. When her mother insisted she make up with him, Fafa accused her of favoring her son-in-law. Mrs. Fong reminded her daughter to hold on to Kei Hyan tightly and suggested they take advantage of the holiday to organize a wedding. Feeling pressured, Fafa had no choice but to ask Kei Hyan to spend time with her mother. Kei Hyan replied that he had already worked over 8 hours a day, and if he had to continue, it would count as overtime. To keep the peace, Fafa reluctantly paid him for the extra hours. Back in her room, Fafa vented her frustration on her plush duck. She wanted to buy new outfits for her game character, but realized that most of her money had been spent on Kei Hyan. In the early hours of the morning, Fafa sneaked into Kei Hyan's room to find his weaknesses. She tried to unlock his phone but was pulled into his arms. Images of Kei Hyan's allure flashed through Fafi's mind, making her embarrassed as she retreated to her room. It turned out Kei Hyan had been teasing her all along. Undeterred, Fafa took advantage of his time in the shower to snoop on his phone. She was furious to see a series of messages from other girls. After Kei Hyan finished showering, Fafa wondered how he managed to date so many girls without getting them mixed up. Kei Hyan replied that if Fafa hadn't signed an exclusive rental contract, she had no right to interfere in his other affairs. Fafa accused him of deceiving her, as some of the other girls said they weren't charged for physical contact. Fafa asked why Kei Hyan treated her this way. He believed that being a rented boyfriend was just a transaction. Any affection shown was fake, and all clients understood that. However, since Fafa had little experience with men, he had to be clear about money to constantly remind her that their relationship was purely transactional. Kei Hyan planned to refund any additional expenses to Fafa once their contract ended. Fafa burst out laughing at Kei Hyan's self-importance. She admitted she had been secretly observing him to gather material for a video game character. Fafa insisted she didn't need Kei Hyan. All she needed was money to pay off her debts. When Kei Hyan tried to leave, Fafa hurriedly stopped him, saying it would be hard to explain to her parents. Kei Hyan reminded her that her parents were on vacation and wouldn't return until the following week. He offered to tell them he was busy and had to return to the city early. Fafa begged him to extend his stay for a few more days so he could attend her class reunion. In her effort to stop him from leaving, Fafa accidentally twisted her waist. Conveniently, Kei Hyan had massage tools prepared for his landlady, and seeing Fafa in pain, he insisted she go to the hospital. Just then, Mrs. Vbong, their neighbor, stopped by with some local specialties. Seeing Fafa in pain, Mrs. Vbong advised Kei Hyan to take it easy and not overwork his girlfriend. Kei Hyan told Fafa that she shouldn't attend the reunion because of her injury, but Fafa insisted she had to impress her classmates this year. She even threatened to write a 1,000-word negative review about him. He didn't perform well. Back in her room, Fafa prepared for a virtual meeting. Kei Hyan unexpectedly entered and asked her to help him take his body measurements. Fafa, however, forgot to turn off her meeting camera. When her colleagues saw Kei Hyan playing the role of someone else's boyfriend, Fafa outed him as living with her. The client's parents were furious, and Kei Hyan's contract was terminated. He blamed her for disrupting his work. Fafa felt it was only fair, as taking his measurements caused rumors at her company that she was chasing after boys. Angry, Kei Hyan refused to attend the reunion with Fafa, saying the previous client would file a complaint and another complaint from her wouldn't make a difference. Fafa quickly apologized and confided in him about her classmate BS Gen, who was the reason she developed a fear of men. She remembered how BS Gen confessed to her in front of the entire school, then repeatedly pressured her to be his girlfriend. Since Kei Hyan was adamant about not attending the reunion, Fafa asked Min Min to accompany her instead. But Min Min apologized, saying something urgent had come up. When Fafa encountered BS Gen at the reunion, she tried to leave, but the class president stopped her. In a game of truth or dare, Fafa lost the first round. The class president dared her to drink a cross-cup toast with the person holding the highest card, which turned out to be BS Gen. Kei Hyan appeared once again when Fafa needed him most. He introduced himself as her boyfriend and took the punishment, drinking the cross-cup toast with Fafa. Seeing her in pain from her injury, Kei Hyan carried Fafa on his back and left the party. Before heading home, they toasted to victory. Slightly tipsy, Fefe thanked Kei Hyun for showing up and praised his heroic rescue. However, she added that she would only be moved if he stopped charging for being her boyfriend. Kei Hyun confided that he needed to earn money to attend school. He was truly an orphan and had to support himself. Seizing the moment while Fefe was emotional, Kei Hyun asked her to sign a cohabitation contract with him. Fefe thought he was entering her teenage dream world again and impulsively kissed him. As a result, Kei Hyun ended up shirtless in her room overnight. He quickly explained that she had thrown up all over him the night before. Kei Hyun helped Fefe back to her room, but she wouldn't let go of him. Drunk and tired, Kei Hyun eventually fell asleep. Just then, Min Min and her boyfriend, Lam Kik, showed up to visit their best friend. Fefe teased Min Min for swearing to stay single, but quickly falling into a relationship. Min Min apologized, saying she couldn't resist her younger lover. However, her parents disapproved and kicked her out of the house. As a result, Min Min and her boyfriend had come to stay with Fefe for a few days. Fefe introduced the couple to Kei Hyun, but to her surprise, Kei Hyun already knew Lam Kik. Lam Kik revealed they had attended the same school. Though Kei Hyun was considered the school's heartthrob, he had bad luck. He participated in film crews, played roles ranging from extras to human shields, but still hadn't gained any fame. In a private moment with Min Min, Kei Hyun asked why she hadn't been honest about Lam Kik's background. Min Min warned Kei Hyun to stay out of her and Fefe's business, threatening him if he dared to overstep with Fefe. The next morning, Fefe was surprised to find her house spotless. Min Min boasted that Lam Kik had woken up early to clean. He even prepared a delicious breakfast for the two girls. Fefe felt satisfied that she no longer had to endure Kei Hyun's bland chicken breasts. Just as Kei Hyun stepped out for breakfast, Fefe sulked, thinking how Lam Kik pampered Min Min, while her own boyfriend was nothing more than a hired hand. Watching Lam Kik take care of Min Min, Fefe asked Kei Hyun to bring her a soda. Kei Hyun refused, saying soda wasn't good for her health. When Fefe compared him to Lam Kik, Kei Hyun firmly stated that he did not provide boyfriend services outside of working hours. Frustrated, Fefe went back to her room and confided in Min Min, saying that a real boyfriend would be much better. Meanwhile, Kei Hyun questioned Lam Kik, asking why he was so determined to compete with him in boyfriend skills. It turned out that Lam Kik was also Min Min's rented boyfriend. Lam Kik guessed that Kei Hyun might have feelings for Fefe, which was why he'd stayed with her so long. He advised his friend to put aside his pride and embrace this rare chance at love. Meanwhile, Min Min looked over the cohabitation contract between Fefe and Kei Hyun and mocked Kei Hyun for squeezing money out of her best friend. Min Min then confessed that Lam Kik was actually a rented boyfriend too. In fact, Lam Kik was originally arranged for Fefe, but because he suited her taste, Min Min had chosen him for herself and rented Kei Hyun for Fefe. Fefe teased Min Min for keeping the gold card and giving her the cheap card instead, though she didn't actually want to switch. To make it up to her, Min Min promised to train Kei Hyun to be a good boyfriend like Lam Kik. She planned to organize a competition and use some tricks to ensure Kei Hyun would lose, forcing him to sign a servitude contract. If Kei Hyun refused to participate, Min Min threatened to kick him out. Overhearing this, Kei Hyun angrily stormed off. Fefe stopped Min Min, saying she didn't want Kei Hyun to leave. Min Min insisted this was the only way to make Kei Hyun comply. In his room, Kei Hyun started packing his things. He bragged to Lam Kik that Fefe no longer needed him and was looking for a reason to send him away. Afraid he might be the next one targeted, Lam Kik suggested forming an alliance with Kei Hyun to change the girls' minds. He promised to make sure Fefe would give Kei Hyun a 5-star review. At a meeting, Min Min announced that she no longer needed a rented boyfriend. She declared a competition to find the ideal candidate to continue the contract with Fefe. The loser would have to sign a new rental contract, taking responsibility for household chores and taking care of Fefe. Realizing the game was targeted at Kei Hyun, Lam Kik decided he wouldn't let Kei Hyun manipulate him into dealing with Min Min. Seeing Lam Kik cheerfully accept the challenge, Kei Hyun knew he wouldn't fall for a trap so easily. Nonetheless, Kei Hyun accepted the challenge against Lam Kik. Min Min explained the rules. The two teams would have to carry each other to collect ingredients, then the contestants would slide into the kitchen to showcase their cooking skills. As the competition began, Kei Hyun lifted Fefe and sprinted to grab ingredients, his speed leaving Lam Kik in the dust. Once in the kitchen, Lam Kik felt confident in his cooking skills. Kei Hyun wasn't about to lose, showing off his specialty with chicken breast. Even though Kei Hyun took all the seasonings, Lam Kik used shrimp shells and seaweed to create a salty sweet flavor for his dish. In the end, he won against Kei Hyun. True to his word, Kei Hyun signed the new contract. Min Min explained that the boyfriend rental fee would be deducted from his rent and living expenses. Additionally, Kei Hyun had to take meticulous care of Fefe. As a result, Kei Hyun had to bring her food to bed and even give her massages. Frustrated with her excessive demands, Kei Hyun stormed off to his room. Feeling upset, Kei Hyun drank to drown his sorrows. Fefe asked why it was so hard for him to comfort her. Kei Hyun firmly stated that he wasn't a nanny and decided he would end the contract and leave. Fefe called him a coward, accusing him of running away right after signing the contract. Kei Hyun admitted that he disliked being compared to Lam Kik. He knew that in Fefe's heart, he wasn't a good enough boyfriend, but he didn't want to become someone else. Back in her room, Fefe complained to Min Min that Kei Hyun was going to leave. Min Min suggested she get a new boyfriend. Seeing that Fefe couldn't bear to part with Kei Hyun, Min Min feared that she had developed feelings for him. Just then, Lam Kik entered the room. He knew that both Min Min and Fefe disliked the way Kei Hyun charged for his services. Looking at the old contract, Lam Kik guessed that Kei Hyan had already refunded the extra fees. Lam Kik explained that Kei Hyan came from a poor background. Thanks to his natural acting talent, he got into the Academy of Arts. To cover his living expenses and tuition, Kei Hyan actively worked as a rented boyfriend. By his third year in university, a client refused to let go even after their contract ended. She kept texting, calling, and even threatened to commit suicide at his school. As a result, Kei Hyan's secret of being a rented boyfriend was exposed. The university banned such work, so Kei Hyan had to work as a laborer at a construction site to make ends meet in his final year. Later, Kei Hyan received an acting offer but ended up breaching his contract. To pay the compensation, he had no choice but to continue working as a rented boyfriend. He established a rule to ensure that no client would develop feelings for him. Lam Kik speculated that Kei Hyan's strict pricing system was his way of cutting off any emotional ties with Fufa to avoid another scandal. Looking at Kei Hyan, who was always smiling, cold, yet there when she needed him most, Fufa hadn't realized how much hardship he had endured. The next morning, Fufa came downstairs to see Kei Hyan off. She apologized for organizing the competition that was clearly aimed at him. Fufa acknowledged that Kei Hyan had done a good job as a rented boyfriend. She blamed herself for demanding too much. To make amends, she gave him a painting as a farewell gift, thanking him for always being there when she needed him most. Fufa confessed that she never wanted to trade him for Lam Kik because, in her heart, the only rented boyfriend for her was Kei Hyan. Therefore, she hoped he would stay. To celebrate Kei Hyan's return, Fufa organized a picnic. This time, Kei Hyan was more thoughtful and didn't tease Fufa as much. The four friends enjoyed their time together, creating wonderful memories. Talking with Fufa, Min Min curiously asked how her best friend managed to tame Kei Hyan. Fufa said men's hearts were as deep as the ocean. She only mentioned that she wanted him to stay, and he obediently complied. After observing for some time, Min Min realized that Kei Hyan wasn't the unfaithful type. She decided she wouldn't oppose Fufa dating him for real. During a drinking game, Min Min suggested they play finger bending. The first question was, who no longer has their first kiss? Fufa was disappointed when she saw Kei Hyan bend one finger. Min Min continued, who has a crush on someone here? Fufa and Kei Hyan both refused to admit it. While they were trying to read each other's expressions, Kei Hyan secretly bent his finger but made sure Fufa didn't see. A little tipsy, Fufa snuggled up to Kei Hyan and asked who his first kiss was with. Kei Hyan had to remind his girlfriend. Fufa then wouldn't let him escape her lips. When Fufa woke up, she thought she had only dreamed about kissing Kei Hyan. Trying to avoid him, Kei Hyan assumed she was trying to shirk responsibility. Just then, Fufi's father unexpectedly came to visit. Min Min hurriedly took Lam Kik to hide. Kei Hyan quickly greeted his father-in-law. When her father discovered a bag of dog treats, Kei Hyan claimed he had bought them as snacks for Fufa. Hearing a dog bark, Fufi's father went out to the balcony to investigate. Fufa scolded him for caring more about the dog than about her. Eventually, they managed to send him off, and both she and Kei Hyan breathed a sigh of relief for avoiding disaster. The next day, Fufa and Min Min were busy preparing for an upcoming game launch. Watching the two girls engrossed in a romance game with a virtual male god, Lam Kik felt jealous that he couldn't compete with a fictional character. Fufa and Min Min enthusiastically praised the in-game character. Not only was he flawlessly handsome, but he was also incredibly loyal. They both considered spending money on this perfect virtual boyfriend. Fearing they might be forgotten, Kei Hyan and Lam Kik teamed up to battle the virtual male god. They decided to play the game themselves, to know their enemy and ensure victory. The next morning, Lam Kik transformed into a gentleman, trying his best to charm Min Min, but she was so scared she ran into her room. On the other side, Kei Hyan took on the role of a domineering CEO, pinning his little girlfriend against the wall. Fufa just thought he had taken the wrong medicine and hit him to snap him out of it. When the two men revealed they wanted to imitate the game character, Fufa advised them to drop the idea. Min Min admitted that while she liked the virtual male god, she didn't want her real-life boyfriend to be like that. After all, only the beauty of a fictional character could make such cheesy actions bearable without feeling gross. Kei Hyan suggested he and Lam Kik be models for the two girls to gather design references for their romance game. Lam Kik was impressed by Kei Hyan's strategy. Not only would they make extra money, but it would also bring the girls' attention back to their real-life boyfriends. During the Lantern Festival, Fufi's parents came to visit their daughters. Min Min and Lam Kik temporarily stayed next door. Seeing Min Min sad, Lam Kik encouraged her to call her parents and make amends. Min Min knew she had made a mistake by hiring a boyfriend to deceive her parents, but if she went home, Lam Kik wouldn't be able to stay. However, all Lam Kik wanted was for Min Min to be happy. He would handle everything on his own. It turned out that from the first moment he laid eyes on her, Lam Kik had fallen for her. Although Min Min knew she was at fault, she wanted understanding from her parents. So she stayed, hoping they would realize their mistakes. In the end, Lam Kik won back his lady boss's affection. Watching them be affectionate, Kei Hyan sighed as his girlfriend was still engrossed in chatting with the virtual male god. He ended up confiding in the dog. Seeing Kei Hyan playing with the pet, Fufa secretly took a picture. When Kei Hyan caught her, Fufa explained that she was gathering design references for the game. Fufa demanded her phone, and in the process, she moved closer to Kei Hyan, leaving them both flustered. Watching them have fun together, Min Min suddenly came up with a new idea. A moment later, Min Min unexpectedly declared that since Fufa had lost the game, she had to hand over Kei Hyan as collateral. Seeing Fefa only apologize, Kei Hian blamed himself for not realizing sooner that she wasn't satisfied with him. Feeling disappointed, he walked away. Fefa hurriedly ran after him, sweetly asking for forgiveness. He questioned why she had used him as a bet. Fefa explained that her best friend had set her up in the wager. Unexpectedly, Min Min was serious about claiming Kei Hian as payment. Annoyed, Kei Hian sulked with Fefa and agreed to be Min Min's boyfriend. Lam Kik protested, saying, "A mountain can't house two tigers," but Min Min promptly chose Kei Hian to experience something new. Heartbroken, Lam Kik pledged to switch his loyalty to Fefa. Seeing Fefa run to her room, the other three shared a triumphant smile. The next morning, Kei Hian made breakfast for Min Min, even thoughtfully feeding her each bite. Meanwhile, Lam Kik had prepared assorted pastries for Fefa. When Min Min complained of shoulder pain, Kei Hian immediately gave her a massage and even agreed to call her precious big sister. Watching this, Fefa grew indignant at Kei Hian's lack of self-respect. Unbothered, Kei Hian continued to serve fruit to Min Min, feeding her piece by piece. Unable to stand it any longer, Fefa dragged her friend outside to talk. Back in the room, Fefa pleaded with Min Min to return Kei Hian, admitting she wasn't used to Lam Kik's attentiveness. Fefa wondered if Min Min used bribery or force to tame Kei Hian. Min Min laughed, saying Kei Hian was just an ordinary man. With the right approach, he could be trained. But Fefa believed Kei Hian was different from Lam Kik. Though he was hot-tempered and arrogant, he had a gentle side too. To her, no one could replace Kei Hian. Fefa declared that Kei Hian was hers alone. Little did she know, Kei Hian overheard her heartfelt confession from outside. It turned out that Min Min had approached Kei Hian and revealed that Fefa's aversion to men was actually quite severe. After being teased by BSI and Gen, Fefa had limited her interactions with men, yet she had never rejected Kei Hian. In fact, she even initiated contact with him. Min Min hoped that Kei Hian could bring true happiness to Fefa. Kei Hian hesitated, unsure if Fefa even liked him. Min Min devised a scheme to force Fefa to see her true feelings. Fefa scolded the three for teaming up to deceive her. Just then, her mother unexpectedly came home, and Fefa urged everyone to hide in the closet. In her panic, she pulled Kei Hian in with her. She tried to step out, but Kei Hian held her back, fearing her mother might think they were doing something improper. Outside, Mrs. Fong noticed dog fur everywhere and other unusual details around the house. Entering Fefa's room, she found the two hiding in the closet, and Min Min couldn't escape her foster mother's sharp eyes either. Fefa's father arrived home to find the fur kneeling on the floor. To get to the bottom of everything, Mrs. Fong decided to interrogate them one by one, starting with Min Min. Min Min explained that her parents disapproved of her relationship with Lam Kik due to his background, and she asked her foster mother to let her stay a few days to make her parents realize their mistake. When it was Lam Kik's turn, Mrs. Fong advised him to find a job rather than spending all day around Min Min. Lam Kik assured her he genuinely liked Min Min, accidentally. He let slip that Min Min had decided he would no longer be her rental boyfriend, but would be with her for real. Mrs. Fong was shocked by the term rental boyfriend, suspecting that Kei Hian might also be Fefa's rental boyfriend. When it was Kei Hian's turn, Mrs. Fong showed him pictures of Fefa from her childhood, explaining that since high school, she had developed a phobia of men. Kei Hian shared that Fefa was completely comfortable around him, though he still wanted to take her to a psychologist. Mrs. Fong thanked Kei Hian for his concern about Fefa's condition. Finally, it was Fefa's turn. Mrs. Fong confronted her for daring to sign a love contract to deceive her parents. She urged her daughter to have Kei Hian move out if she didn't love him and to break things off quickly. In front of the whole family, Mrs. Fong declared that Kei Hian and Lam Kik had to leave, as she had arranged a date for Fefa with someone else. Fefa glanced at Kei Hian, but he didn't object to her mother's decision. Back in their room, Fefa's father suspected his wife was only trying to provoke Kei Hian's feelings. Mrs. Fong, having recognized Kei Hian's good character, hoped to turn their fake relationship into a real one. Seeing Kei Hian packing, Lam Kik teased him for being too poor, with only his pride to his name. He thought Kei Hian charged for physical contact to remind himself not to fall for Fefa. If Kei Hian were really ready to give up, he would have left rather than competing with Lam Kik. Kei Hian admitted he liked Fefa, but he couldn't keep freeloading in her home. Lam Kik confessed that he had quit his rental boyfriend career and now just wanted to express his true feelings to Min Min. Meeting Min Min in the living room, Lam Kik declared, "I like you, Min Min. I'm sorry for making you expose everything to your parents and for developing feelings for you, but I'll repay all your rental fees. I want to give you my purest affection." Min Min surprised him with a kiss and declared she would take care of him forever, forbidding him from smiling at other women. At last, Lam Kik had won over his queen Min Min. In their room, Lam Kik bragged to Kei Hian about his successful confession, sharing that Min Min had agreed to move in with him. Determined to give himself a chance, Kei Hian went to find Fefa, but when he saw her, he found himself speechless. The next day, Min Min and Lam Kik moved out. Mr. Fong admired how quickly other young couples could progress in their relationships. When it was Kei Hian's turn to leave, he stalled, claiming his ride was late. Seeing Fefa heading out, Mr. Fong urged her not to keep her blind date waiting. Watching Kei Hian sit still, Mrs. Fong lamented that young men weren't as assertive as they were in her day. She deliberately mentioned that she had arranged for Fefa's blind date to take place at a popular restaurant called Little Paris, known for successful matchups. Fearing he would lose her, Kei Hian quickly ran after Fefa. Fefa's date was Dr. LS. Captivated by her charm, he hoped to get to know her better. Listening to him calculate the calories of each dish, Fefe couldn't help but think of Kei Hyan, and tears filled her eyes. At that moment, Kei Hyan appeared in front of her, apologizing to Dr. LS for his intrusion, but insisting that he needed to take his girl. He told Fefe to go home first, as he had something to discuss with her parents. Facing them, Kei Hyan admitted he was an orphan. He shared that in Fefe's home, he had experienced the warmth of a family for the first time. He assured them that while his relationship with Fefe may not have started purely, his feelings for her were genuine. Beyond loving Fefe, he valued the warmth of their family and asked for a chance to become part of it. Fefe's father hesitated, concerned that Kei Hyan's past as a rental boyfriend might have involved many women. Kei Hyan assured him he had deleted all client contacts and wouldn't make Fefe feel second best. Finally, Fefe was able to see Kei Hyan again. He gave his boss a once-in-a-lifetime offer, a warm, kind boyfriend without needing to top up. Fefe, I want to be your full-time boyfriend, just for you, all my services are free. But I need a kiss to seal our lifelong love contract. The next day, Kei Hyan and Fefe bid farewell to her parents to head to the city for work. Kei Hyan continued working in the theater company, frequently turning down former clients to stay true to his real girlfriend. Fefe, dressed up, visited her boyfriend on set, where several women in the theater were loyal fans of her new dating app. Min Min and Lam Kik coincidentally passed by, and, tired of his toy boy image, Min Min encouraged Lam Kik to try the role of a domineering CEO, devoted only to her. That evening, Fefe arrived on their date, looking so stunning that Kei Hyan couldn't stop gazing at her. He invited her to watch a play he was in, not revealing that he had hidden a ring behind the ticket. Fefe, will you be my wife? Even if I'm not the lead in the play, I'll always be the main character in your story. You'll be my biggest fan, supporting me forever. In the end, a love born from pretense was returned with sincerity. Kei Hyan had transformed from a pretend boyfriend into Fefe's true love. May they keep the flame of love alive, facing life's challenges hand in hand. Don't forget to subscribe for more reviews on Movie Review channel.